to reply from both. Thank you.
For what?
for my wife.
What's the matter with your wife?
High blood pressure, I'm going up with ailments.
Sure. Do you have any yourself?
Yes.
What is your health problem?
Gas, acid reflux, they call it GERD. Heart palpitation, SVT, high cholesterol.
At this point in time, you needed employment, correct?
Yes.
Did Mr. Preston know you needed employment?
Yes, I spoke to him back in March.
Were council members Wilson and Waldrop the type of people who were known to disseminate confidential information to the public when they should not have?
Yes, yes.
Did council member Wilson ever disseminate information that you believed was confidential?
Yes.
Did you do it publicly?
Yes.
How about Mr. Waldrop?
Yes. Can I go into detail?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Preston's personal credit card number was disseminated, and that wound up on the Anderson newspaper, Anderson Independent Mail website. Okay. County credit card numbers in general was disseminated, and they ended up spread out all over county. Those cards had to be canceled, and new cards had to be issued. There was an issue where, as chairman, I disseminated some information to council, and I purposely marked it confidential, with a red stamp. It showed up on the Independent Mail's website with a confidential stamp on it. So when you have a confidential document marked confidential on the website, had no business being marked. So it was knowledge that they disseminated stuff that they shouldn't do. Disseminated.
Now, as of August of 2008, was your financial position something you felt the public needed to know about?
My job with the county?
Yeah.
No.
You needed a job, right?
It's personnel issues. You don't discuss personnel issues.
Were you concerned that the same individuals who had circulated the harassing letters might misuse information like you were applying for a job?
Of course they would, yes.
Were they the same people that caused you to be scared for your own safety?
Yeah, I believe they were.
Were they the same people who called Mr. Preston's house and spoke to his boy?
I'm going to have to assume that it was.
Let's look at Exhibit 9. During your earlier examination, you testified that this was the information regarding the appraisal course that you had earlier spoke with Mr. Preston about in March of 2008. My first question is, did I get that correct?
Yes.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Preston was asking you to take these appraisal courses because you would ultimately work for Anderson County?
That was my understanding.
Is it also your understanding that Mr. Preston was asking you to take these appraisal courses because at some point you might obtain a position with the assessor's office?
That's where it started, with the assessor's office. Yes, sir.
If, right there. Was Tom Wright the lawyer hired by the county to provide representation in relation to Mr. Preston's anticipatory breach of contract claim?
Yes.
Was Mr. Bright an employment spec?
It was my understanding from the, what's that book?
Martindale Hubbell.
Yeah, that he did personnel issues, so that's my understanding.
Was Mr. Bright hired because of his background in employment issues?
I presented 3 attorneys to the council, and we discussed it. Then we went back to the chamber, and we took a vote.
Now, during your earlier testimony, you stated that Mr. Waldrop had objected to almost everything. You recall that?
Yes.
Was Mr. Waldrop opposed to hiring an independent law firm?
I think he was opposed to us hiring an attorney at all at that time.
Fair enough. When you voted on Mr. Preston's severance agreement, was it your belief there was potential risk to Anderson County in relation to the claim asserted by Mr. Preston?
Was there risk to the county because of that?
Yes, sir.
I don't understand.
Okay. Did you understand Mr. Preston was asserting a claim against Anderson County?
Yes, the anticipatory breach, I understand that, yes.
Was it your belief that his assertion of that claim
Of the breach?
posed a risk to Anderson County?
Yes, yes.
Was Anderson County represented by Mr. Bright? Tom Bright?
Yes.
Was it also your belief that protracted litigation could hurt Anderson County?
Yes.
And if we look back to that last exhibit from February 20th of 2008 that we looked at, and I mean the last as in the last marked exhibit, which I believe is exhibit 19.
19?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hold on. Okay, got it?
In fact, wasn't it true that historically there were actual instances of an economic development where political infighting by the county council had threatened potential economic development initiatives?
Yeah, that was a concern of mine, yeah.
And was that same sort of political infighting part of your concern about the potential risk to economic development that might result from the protracted litigation that could be brought by Mr. Preston against Andy?
Yes, I didn't think it was in the county's best interest to go through a drawn-out litigation process.
Would it be in the county's best interest to spend $2 million investigating Mr. Preston?
No.
Of course not, right? Could you look at Exhibit 11 for me?
Okay?
In relation to Exhibit 11, which is the November 13, 2008 Buyer One job advertisement, did you look down where it says requirements?
Yes.
Did you have a high school diploma or GED equivalent?
I have a master's in business.
Did you have 2 years or more of experience in purchasing and procurement operations?
I have 9 years of purchasing experience.
Were you honorably discharged from the United States Navy?
Yes, I served 6 years and was honorably discharged.
Can you turn the page and look at the second page to Exhibit 11, which is the page that is base stamp PLF00061.
Okay,
Can you find your name on that page?
I'm number 3.
Okay. Is that 1119 next to your name?
Yes.
Did your application specify what buyer position you wanted?
No. It just said, it was just buyer. He said a buyer's position was opening and I should apply.
Let's look at exhibit number 12.
Okay.
What is the date reflected on the buyer 2 job opening announcement of Anderson County?
November 19th.
November 19th, 2008?
Yes.
Is that the same date that we saw in exhibit 11?
Yes.
Are these the positions that Mr. Preston had identified to you as likely becoming available in a few months?
He just said buyer. He didn't say 1 or 2 or any number. He just said a buyer's position.
I want you to look down at the requirements section on exhibit 12.
Okay.
The requirements require a bachelor's degree in business, marketing, or accounting.
Okay.
Do you have an MBA?
Yes.
Do you have 4 years of progressively responsible supervisory work?
9 years.
You have 9 years?
9 years.
How much was the commodity portfolio that you oversaw when you worked for Bosch?
56 million.
$56 million?
Yes.
Were you honorably discharged from the United States Navy?
Yes.
Mr. Tessier asked you about a quote from an article appearing in the Anderson Independent Mail from June of 2008. Do you recall those questions?
No.
Questions about an article where you were interviewed in relation to going to work for the county?
Okay, yes, I recall.
Do you believe it's the county administrator's job to monitor the statements made by county officials to the media?
No.
Is it the county administrator's job to correct incorrect statements made by council members?
No.
Do you recall any statements made by Councilwoman Wilson to the media that proved incorrect?
Oh, all the time.
How about statements made by Mr. Waldrop? Do you recall any statements Mr. Waldrop made to the media that proved incorrect?
He was frequently making erroneous errors too, but I don't recall any offhand.
Was it Joey Preston's job to alert the media that elected officials had somehow stated something incorrectly?
No.
In fact, would it be better for the Anderson County if the county administrator did not go behind elected officials and tried to correct them with respect to media statements?
Yes, yeah. Yes, I would agree. Yes, yeah. Yes, I would agree.
We looked at Exhibit 19, where they were talking about economic development projects imperiled by infighting by Anderson County Council. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Would it be preferable if the county administrator did not go behind county council members to the media in correct statements on the record?
Yes. If he did that, he would get nothing done. So.
When you were in the Navy, did you ever obtain a security clearance?
Yes.
What level?
top secret.
What does obtaining a top secret security clearance entail?
They went to my home where I was raised. They spoke to my neighbors. They spoke to the corner market that I could walk to from my home. They scared the dickens out of my parents. I was interviewed by the NCIS, and it was ultimately granted.
Do you recall instances when Councilwoman Wilson was disruptive during public session?
Council meetings,
Yes.
in my opinion, all the time. I mean, she does not know how to follow Robert's Rules of Order. When I was chairman, I would frequently have to call her down.
Did she often impede getting work done?
Yeah. During a meeting?
Yes.
Yes, sure.
What relationship exists between your hiring, the hiring of you by Anderson County, and your vote on Mr. Preston's severance agreement?
None. One had nothing to do with the other.
If Anderson County had not given you a job, would you have voted differently on Mr. Preston's severance agreement?
No. One had nothing to do with the other. It was determined back in August that I was going to be a county employee when my term ended on the council. The stuff with Joy didn't start until September, and the severance stuff was November. So, I mean, that was already settled back in August.
If I use the term quid pro quo, do you know what that means?
No, sir.
This for that? Was
Okay.
there a this for that agreement between you and Mr. Preston in relation to your vote on his severance agreement in return to receive a job from Anderson County?
One had nothing to do with the other, so there was no, what you said.
Is the answer no? There
Yes.
was no quid pro quo agreement?
Yes, sir, the answer is no.
Was Mr. Preston advantaged in any way by your hiring?
Advantage?
Yes, sir.
He was leaving, yes, sir.
Were you advantaged in any way by the approval of Mr. Preston's severance agreement?
Yes, sir.
Is the reason why you didn't perceive to be any conflict on your vote for Mr. Severance agreement because no conflict existed?
Yes, there was no conflict. One had nothing to do with the other.
You weren't being advantaged in any way by voting on his severance agreement, were you?
No, it was determined back in August that I was going to be a county employee, so one had nothing to do with the other.
Mr. Thompson, I have one more question for you. When was the personnel subcommittee formed?
January,
January of 2008.
any year, this county ordinance.
And I lied, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Is the county council chairman considered an ex officio member of all the subcommittees?
Can I attend any? Yes, I can attend any committee. I do believe. I don't really call the ordinance, but I think that's the way it is.
I don't know whether your attorney has any questions to clarify for the record, but I don't have any further questions. I enjoyed meeting you. I wish we had met under better circumstances, but thank you for your time and thank you for being here today.
I have a few follow-ups. Mr. Thompson, you testified that in addition to the harassing letters that you received, that there were also things that were said on the radio. Do you recall that statement?
Yes.
What radio are you talking about?
AM station in Anderson,
Is there a particular show on that radio station?
the Rick Driver show.
And what things were said about you and other members of council that you considered threatening?
Well, when one person said that I need to check my homeowner's insurance, and I took that as to be a threat. But they were constantly or frequently belittling members of council and Mr. Preston.
Were you or other council members ever threatened with bodily harm, such as threats made about killing you or someone else?
Killing? I don't recall.
Do you recall anyone ever saying that they were willing to go to jail to take any of you out?
I remember that being said, but I don't remember to who or who said it. They were pretty vicious. That's what I recall.
And Mr. Tessier asked you about the ethics letter that you wrote down to Mr. Hayden about Ms. Wilson's voting on Beaver Dam Sewer. And I believe you testified that you do not recall her ever recusing herself from those votes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you were an ex officio member of all committees, including the Personnel Committee, would it have been inappropriate for you to have information about the severance from Mr. Greer?
Yes, no ma'am.
Okay. And the letter from Mr. Preston's attorney, Mr. Hoskins, you said that that was at the end of September of 2008?
That's what I'm thinking.
And do you recall that that letter was stamped confidential?
Yes, that was the letter that I was referring to that wound up on the newspaper website.
And did you give a copy of that letter to the newspaper?
No, it was later discovered that Mr. Walter was the one that leaked it.
And do you recall that in the county council meeting on October 21st, he denied that? County council meeting the night you hired Mr. Bright.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. There was some discussion about who did this.
So he lied.
He didn't tell the truth.
That concludes that presentation of that testimony. And just to make sure keep the record clean, I wanted to this time note for the court that we pre-admitted several exhibits that were testified to by Mr. Thompson. They go from plaintiff's exhibit 34 through 46 with one exception. The only exception, Your Honor, that was not pre-admitted was plaintiff's exhibit 36. We'd like to talk about that now.
Yes, Your Honor. That plaintiff's exhibit 36 is an email that has virtually no relevance to the case. As counsel points out, objected to it. I believe Your Honor saw the designation on the video for the private anyway, but I still don't think the exhibit should come into evidence because it's irrelevant. I started to fear that you may have too much to read already. So there's that too.
Well, I don't mind having plenty to read. Let's see, the, appears to be an email, May 22nd, 08. Am I looking at the right one?
You've got that.
Mr. Thompson to Mr. Preston.
Hey, I'll hang it up.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to confirm that's what I was.
Yes, sir. It's an email May 22nd, 2008.
All right. Are you objecting to that, Thompson?
Yes, Your Honor, I still say I'm relevant.
He testified, Your Honor, that he did send this email. He was looking for help in his campaign from Mr. Preston. This is the one he testified, and Mr. Preston called him back about and was kind of upset that he sent this on his company.
Scolded him was
That's
the word
right.
he used.
Yes, sir.
I heard it.
And then what happened, though, Your Honor, was we asked Mr. Thompson, did Mr. Preston help you raise money for your campaign in 2008? And Mr. Thompson said he did.
Steve Thompson.
Right, and not that he did it on company time or anything, but that he did. And Mr. Preston denied that he did. So that's.
Except, there's, and let me just